talking to Ruby Rose. Ruby, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm in Chicago. Where are you at?
I'm in LA.
There you go. I like the
In my,
hair.
I don't have any hair. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I like the change up from
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
I'm going to jump into it. First thing that I'm thinking, like, what appealed you to the script? But you hear always the word doorman, and it's always basically you think of as a man. Was that a first thing? And you've been breaking barriers with different characters and stuff. Was the first thing that, like, hey, I'm going to be a woman and be in that role, just like of a doorman, in a sense? Was that something appealing to you to just even break that mold in a sense? Because I'm like, wow, it made me think immediately, like, yeah, I don't remember seeing too many door women technically, and why not?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't the first thing that I thought about. I've read the script and I really loved Ali's character and the development and what she goes through and just kind of that was where I started. And then knowing that Ruhai was directing, who I'm obsessed with, and then finding out obviously Jean Reno was attached, all of that came first. And then I did realize, and even within the film, it's mentioned, where someone's sort of like, why a doll woman? Like, I don't want her to, why is she doing this job? And it's 2020, but that is a reality. And we don't make it into a big deal into the film. It's like people like yourself will notice. And then a bunch of people will not even register any of those sort of little microaggressions or sort of strange gender twists or like what it's like to be a doorman as a woman and have people be kind of uncomfortable about it. But I love how we play on that and we mention it, but I love that we don't spend too much time there.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you've for a lot of your roles, you've done a lot of physicality and done your stunts, and you had the spinal surgery in like a year or so ago. Was there any hesitation? I don't know if the movie coincided with that or not for you to kind of delve into these roles where, there's going to be physicality. There's going to be, you're not going to stop and just, be basically a standby walker. How much does that factor in even taking this role or going forward with, with some issues that you've dealt with physically that sounds scary?
Sounds scary. Were scary.
Yeah.
I actually didn't. I was injured. I was in a lot of pain for the beginning of the film, but I thought it was not that serious. But I was told to get an MRI, so I couldn't get it in the States before I went to do Doorman. So I got it in Romania, and that took about 3-4 days for them to come up with the results because it's public healthcare and it's a little bit slower. And then I sent it back to my American doctor. He takes a few days because he has to get it to work on his equipment. Like it was a whole thing. And then 2 weeks in, I get a call that's like, you have to come home like immediately because you've herniated 2 discs and you could sever your spinal cord. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I can't come home. I'm doing a film. Like, but what can I do? And he's like, literally anything. Like, don't move your head rapidly. Like, don't sleep funny. Don't do any stunts. And I'm like, luckily we did all the stunts in the first 2 weeks because, then later on, Rupert Evans and Axel and Jean Reno were turning up. So we did all the stunts in the first 2 weeks. Then I get the call. And I'm like, I have to basically bubble wrapped for all like the acting parts. But I was so lucky that nothing happened during all those stunts because he was like, you can't even do any, like literally you can't do anything. Don't laugh too hard. And
were you in pain at this time? Were you like feeling it and knew something was off even too?
I was in pain, but I also knew we would, I was also kind of like, I'd been in pain for a minute, like I'd sort of gotten used to it. I had a little bit of stability stuff and some numbness sometimes, but I was really just focused on like we shot this film in like 35 or 40 days.
Wow.
So there's not a lot of time to really think, oh, I'm in pain. You just do what you're doing. And then when I got home, I went into surgery the next day and got 2 replacement discs. But now, of course, I'm going to do stunts because now my neck is stronger than literally anybody else, unless you have the same surgery like Charlize Theron, who seems to have all the same injuries as me.
Unreal.
But, yeah, she has all the same things. But now it's like it's bionic, so I can. It's very, very strong.
So this movie will always be kind of synonymous with you and what your life journey in a sense too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said you shot this movie in Romania, is that right?
Yeah, in Bucharest. Oh, some of it in Bucharest.
What is it like? I mean, because it did look kind of exotic too, and you're like trying to think of these location stuff. But when you're shooting on location, especially in a foreign country, does it add to kind of the character and the feel of the movie that it's not just like a typical made up soundstage? What does it feel like in a sense, to shoot on a location like that?
It's really fun. I mean, it's beautiful. I shot a film in Hungary as well before that. And I love working in different countries because it allows you to, I mean, look, I would do anything to work in LA, but there's no tax incentives and it barely ever happens. So, I do love though that instead of coming home, my house and my dogs and my life, you can stay in character so much more and understand and get into it when you're going back to a hotel in Romania and you're around, you don't know anyone there except for your crew and cast, but you're not kind of influenced to feel too much like yourself. You're able to really feel like the character. And anywhere I stay in any country that I work in, I always just imagine that that's where she would live, and it really helps with what you're doing and the character development.
Interesting. The thing is, I kind of was reading your bio curiously. I mean, I know enough about you. I've seen you in so many films and shows, and like some of these things blew me away. I'm like, this girl could have like a movie written about her, or a book, based on your life with all the ups and downs and just so many fascinating facts I picked up. And one of them just kind of stood out to me that you were unemployed for like 2 years before you got cast on Orange is the New Black. Is that correct?
Yeah. And honestly, 4 months later, and I would have been sent home because you only get a 2-year visa and you have to prove that you're an extraordinary alien, why that use that term, I don't know. But if you don't do anything in 2 years, then you clearly, we're not that extraordinary. And so you go back home and you try to apply for another visa. And I made that short film Break Free. And then it went viral, which was so surprising. And then Jen Houston called and said, do you want to audition for Orange is the New Black? And I said, yep. And then that opened up all these doors, and it instantly meant that my visa could be renewed and but otherwise I would have, I was down to my last dollars trying to, live in the States.
Can you imagine if you didn't book that role and stuff? Your life could have changed completely upside down, in so many ways.
That's why I'm always so grateful for Jen for believing in me and giving me that role. And I always say to her, thank you so much for opening the door. She's like, no, I just opened, I just cracked it a little. She's like, you kicked it down.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, thank you so much for that. But yeah, it's because of all of that. And that's why I'm always telling people that want to do this or do whatever it is in their life, it's their dream, don't ever stop, because you could be a day, or in my case, 4 months away from the biggest change in what could happen.
Unbelievable. And finally, before I let you go, I would be remiss without asking, now you back, looking kind of back now that you've moved on from Batwoman, any sort of things, you have more clarity regarding what had happened and kind of now moving past it, or anything you've done differently? Do you even like the casting of Javicia Leslie too?
Yeah. I'm so excited about that. Yeah, I'm super excited about her being cast. I'm so proud of what we achieved. I had so much fun. I'm excited to watch the second season, and I miss my Bat fan, but it is what it is, and I think everyone's happy, and it's the right thing for the show, and it's going to be great. She's going to do a fantastic job.
Well, it's good to hear. I'm glad you're still a fan, so watching it with all of us. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad to finally connect with you. Awesome job in this movie, and really any role. And I'm glad you booked Orange is the New Black, because it would have been sad to not see you here and doing all these great things.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.